how to help children solve their own problems. I'm going to focus on 4 particular aspects of this in this session. And number 1 is that behaviour is driven by needs. Number 2, how to avoid roadblocks in communication. When children actually have problems, how can you avoid those blocks that stop them from talking or don't help them with their emotions? Number 3 is how you can actively listen to children so that they can solve their own problems. And number 4 is how to encourage them to do the problem solving that will be beneficial for them. So let's move on. Behaviour is driven by needs. Now, I'm sure you're very aware when a child has a problem. And the question there is asking you, well, how do you know? And I'm sure through your excellent methods of observation as a teacher aide, as all teacher aides have, you notice these changes in children. They might be crying, they might be just looking forlorn, they might be punching another child or doing any number of things that show a change in their demeanour, or they actually tell you that they've got a problem. So that's fairly straightforward, that you often do know. Sometimes it's a little more difficult. But what we'll focus on initially is looking at yourself, because if you're like most people, and I know for me, when a child is very upset or has an emotional outburst, it can trigger in you a reaction, and then that can affect how you actually interact with them. And instead of bringing out the best in them, you don't necessarily bring out the best in yourself either. So have a little think about, what happens for you when a child has a problem, when they have an emotional upset? Just be thinking about that. So if your hot buttons are triggered sometimes, then what to do? Well, what I'd like to say to you first is that your emotions actually follow your thoughts. So if you feel anger, or if you feel confused, or if you feel very upset, it's often because of a thought, which could be, oh, that child is so annoying. And you won't be the first teacher aide to have thought that, I'm sure. Or you might be thinking, oh, not again. Or I wish I knew what to do. So all these thoughts might be going on in your head, which leads to your emotional reactivity. And it often then triggers in you a defensive response, which you've probably heard about, the fight or flight response. And that might be that you decide to try to control the situation by fighting, or you retreat and try to get somebody else to deal with it, or you move away from the situation without actually being a helper to the child. So we'll look at how you can deal with these upsets in yourself. One of the ways is to look at the way you think of behaviour. And I hope if there's one important message that you take away today, is that children behave to get their needs met. They're always behaving to get their needs met. So think about this. Do you think of the child as misbehaving when the child might have a problem? And if you do, then you're thinking in a judgmental way. And my proposition is that you try to think differently. If you think that children are acting to get their needs met, then you're more solution focused, and you'll find different ways to help them, but also you will feel more in control of the situation yourself. You'll feel that you have a method to use. Well, you won't even feel it, you'll know it. And I'll show you what that is.